If you're expecting a cheerful podcast, this episode won't be that, but it's not overly negative either. I'll let the intro music play for about 10 or 15 seconds so you can decide if you want to continue listening. Of course, talking about fears can't be joyful, right? So honestly, today's episode isn't a happy one. Anyone who stays until this point, I forbid you later from saying, "Why are you so reflective lately?" You're choosing to be reflective with me, so let's begin now. I believe that as humans, everyone fears loneliness. That's why capitalism has exploited this fear of ours, the fear of loneliness, to sell us so many things that we probably don't even need that much. Lately, I haven't had a partner. Well, actually, not just lately, it's been quite a while, and I do feel lonely. To say, "Oh, I'm so happy alone," would be a lie. It's not that fun. Sometimes I really do want a partner. Winter always makes people feel sadder and lonelier. Because in winter, there's less light, shorter daylight hours, and the change in temperature affects our mood and emotions. That's why there's winter blues, meaning we feel sad during winter, or in more severe cases, seasonal depression. I've told you in previous podcast episodes that I'm super scared of Hanoi winters. It's so cold, everyone. I hate winter, I fear winter, I feel lonely in winter. Normally, my hands and feet are always freezing in winter. When I was little, my parents would hug me close, whispering, "Our darling child," and things like that, warming my hands and feet. In previous winters, when I had a partner, they would hug me like that too. I think in winter, I feel even lonelier than usual. The end of the year is holiday season, right? In English, there's a term called holiday blues, and I'm not sure what the closest Vietnamese translation would be. It means that because there are so many holidays at the end of the year, they're times for people to meet, reunite, and reconnect with close relationships. But I'm far from home, my friends are also far from me, and the friends who are nearby are always busy with school and work, so we barely get to see each other. So my loneliness during the holidays is amplified, especially on those festive days when everyone else is out having fun and I'm home alone. Honestly, I'm also afraid to go out during the holidays. This is true, really true, because Hanoi roads get so crowded, there are traffic jams everywhere, just people. So I'm scared, but staying home, I feel lonely too. So all in all, this season makes me feel very lonely. And guess what? When people are lonely, what do? When they're lonely, they think they need a partner. I think maybe 10 out of 100 people would think, if I'm lonely, I need to find a partner. I thought the same. I downloaded dating apps, everyone. I was planning to save this story for a separate episode about dating apps, but okay, I'll tell you a little bit now. Because I was lonely, I thought I needed a partner, so I downloaded dating apps. Using dating apps is pretty interesting. If you have a specific type or criteria beforehand, for example, what profession you prefer for a guy, what hobbies you like in a person, and so on, it's really easy to find someone you're interested in. And I had a pretty clear list of criteria, so it wasn't too hard to find someone who matched my standards. So we started chatting, and before I even chatted with this person, I mentioned that I'm someone who's really afraid of meeting new people. So I asked if we could talk for a good long while before meeting in person, just so I could see if I was ready. And if we talked for a long time and I still wasn't ready to meet, it would mean we weren't that compatible, and I'd apologize for wasting their time. We talked constantly, every single day, and I genuinely enjoyed it. And they were a really great person. I set a deadline for myself, a specific date by which I had to tell them if I wanted to take the next step in this relationship. By next step, I meant going on a real-life date. Then I realized, oh no, I guess I don't want a partner that much. I wasn't really ready for a relationship. So even though it was incredibly regrettable, I still told them I wasn't ready for a relationship, and so we cut ties as if we had never even known each other. Because I really hate ambiguity. It's either all or nothing. The day after I decided to end that budding relationship, I got sick. I got really, really sick, and I think in terms of levels of loneliness, going to the hospital alone is the loneliest thing. That day, I was extremely ill. Every time the season changes, I get sick. I was super sick, and I went to the hospital alone, feeling like, oh my God, help me. How can I be this lonely? I didn't dare call my mom to tell her I was sick because she lives far away. She would only worry. Telling her wouldn't help, she'd just lose sleep, so I didn't want to tell her, and my friends were also far away. My nearby friends were all busy with year-end work, everyone was frantically busy, So I just huddled alone in the hospital and I really wanted to cry. At that moment, I thought it was an incredibly terrible thing for me. It made me want to vanish from the face of the earth. I felt it was awful. But now that I've been through it and look back, I realize, oh, it was just that, nothing too major. And then I see there are times when I feel empty, so incredibly tired. I don't know how to express it, everything is a mess, and I wish someone would hug me, comfort me, and tell me, it's okay, everything will be fine. Just like my parents used to do when I was little. I wish I had someone like that now. Then I realized, my life is pretty unstable right now, I'm really not ready for dating. And I don't want an ambiguous relationship, nor do I want an intimate relationship without love. So, I choose loneliness, I choose to be alone. A while ago, I watched an American movie. I've forgotten the name, can't remember it anymore, but I learned a new vocabulary word from Reddit that people use a lot. Situationship. It means a relationship that isn't a friendship but also isn't love. Both people have feelings for each other but aren't ready to take the next step. In Vietnamese, we probably call that map mo, ambiguous. I'm someone who needs everything to be clear and well-defined. I don't like ambiguity, so I'd rather be lonely than be in that kind of situation. So I started researching why people choose to be alone. I found there are two types of single people. One type is actively single, meaning they find single life very enjoyable and want to embrace it. The other type is passively single, meaning they haven't found a suitable partner, or their work is too busy leaving them no time, or their financial capacity isn't enough to support a relationship, so they choose to be alone. Or it could be trauma from previous relationships that makes them too afraid of love, leading them to decide to heal themselves before entering a new relationship. Or they're simply too scared to start again because they fear being hurt at any moment, and the trauma from those hurts is too great for them to risk it again. So looking back at myself, I realized I don't exactly love and embrace the philosophy of being single that much. I'm not too busy to have time for a relationship. I'm not rich, but I'm not so poor that I can't afford a relationship. As for finding a suitable person, I actually found one. They were truly super compatible. My friends would scold me if I told them this, because I was genuinely very interested in this person. I mean, when we were talking, we chatted until 1 or 2 a.m. every single night, and I got to the point where I genuinely felt happy talking to them. And I started to rediscover that feeling of coming home after a long, tiring day and having someone ask me, "How was your day?" Or sometimes I'd complain to them about this or that, and I'd get that feeling of being small and tiny again, and having someone see me as small and tiny and protect me. I truly had found that feeling again. If I hadn't used my brain and just relied on my emotions, I'm certain I would have chosen to take the next step in this relationship. To say I was in love wouldn't be right either because we hadn't even met or anything. I spent an entire day truly pondering, Thai En Hung, do you really want to start this relationship? And the answer was no. I truly wasn't ready for a relationship, and this fear didn't come from the person I was getting to know, nor from my external circumstances. So where did it come from? It came from within me, from my psychological issues. I know I have a problem, something called an attachment issue, which can be roughly understood as having problems with bonding. People with this can struggle to trust others, or they might display a lot of anxiety in relationships, or become overly dependent on their partner. They need constant reassurance to reduce their anxiety, or they might push their partner away to avoid getting too attached. When I read about it, I felt genuinely scared. If you've listened to my Young and Clumsy V4 episode, the one about my shortcomings, then you'll understand why I'm afraid of love, why I'm afraid of starting a new relationship. And I think, until these issues of mine are resolved, I shouldn't start a relationship and cause another person to suffer with me, because making one person happy is always easier than both people being happy. That's it. So, I decided to just be alone for now. And this doesn't just happen in romantic relationships, it can happen in friendships too. Generally, in all deep connections, this kind of thing can occur. The causes and solutions are very extensive. If you're interested in this topic, I'll put a link to the very long English book I read about it in the description below. If you're interested, you can read it. Okay, let's save this topic for another episode to discuss separately, because attachment issues are very complex. There are many types of attachment: anxious attachment, avoidant attachment, anxious avoidant attachment. There are many issues and many causes from childhood leading up to this. A while ago, I watched a movie where a woman said, "I choose loneliness because I'm afraid of being abandoned." At the time, I didn't understand it, but now I do. When starting a relationship, I'm afraid of becoming too dependent on the other person. I'm scared that if they don't treat me well, but I'm too dependent on them, I won't be able to leave them. Or what if I love them too much, and they fall out of love with me first? They wouldn't be doing anything wrong, but it would be incredibly painful for me because I'd consider them my whole world, and if they left, my world would feel like it was collapsing. Or maybe it's because I'm always thinking about the ending, so even when I'm in love, I've never truly connected completely. There are so many fears like that. As I told you earlier, after that day, I got seriously sick and went to the hospital alone. That was next-level loneliness, cosmic loneliness even. Actually, when I was alone in the hospital, I cried. But afterward, I realized, hey, it was just that. No big deal, I'm amazing I got through it all. And I knew I had to face it, meaning, learn to confront and resolve it, not just accept it and convince myself I was fine. No, I wasn't fine, but I would learn to confront and solve the problem. After that day, my heart truly rejoiced again. I bought flowers, found a place to learn badminton, and just felt happy and full of life. I went out, rode my bike, and tried to make my life joyful again. And a philosophy, a realization I just had, is that sometimes being single doesn't mean you're waiting for the next person. On the journey of growing up, there are paths you have to walk alone. Someone might accompany you, which is great, but no one will walk it for you. You have to walk it yourself. I read a passage in a book about love that I really like. The Art of Loving. It goes like this. Only those who have the capacity to live in solitude have the capacity to love, to share, to penetrate to the innermost core of the other person without possessing them, without being dependent on them, without turning them into an object, without merging into them. They allow the other person absolute freedom because they know that if that person leaves them, they will still be happy. Their happiness will never be taken away because it is not borrowed from anyone. After hearing that, don't you feel a surge of vitality again? You hear it and think, no fear, no fear, no fear. It's okay to be lonely, it's fine, completely fine. People often think being alone means being lonely, and being lonely means being alone. But in my understanding, loneliness doesn't necessarily mean being alone. Loneliness is the state of feeling disconnected from the relationships around you. A person can still feel lonely when they have many people around them, but they don't feel connected to anyone at all. I think that's the most terrifying feeling. In my opinion, there are 3 types of loneliness: social loneliness, emotional loneliness, and existential loneliness. The first type is social loneliness, which is when we don't have anyone by our side and feel a lack of meaningful relationships. The second is emotional loneliness, feeling a lack of connection with others around us. There are many people, but we still feel lonely, still feel lost. And the third is existential loneliness, feeling isolated, adrift, not knowing our purpose in life, not knowing why we exist. Usually, the first 2 types of loneliness lead us to experience the third type. And loneliness truly affects our lives a lot. Loneliness can cause stress, anxiety, and depression because when we're lonely, it brings feelings of sadness, hopelessness, and a lack of interest in everything around us. And when we feel lonely, we don't want to go out, and the less we go out, the lonelier we become. It's like a vicious cycle that makes us sink deeper and deeper into it. Loneliness also increases our feelings of anxiety because when we have close relationships, we feel connected, supported, and helped, and this gives us a sense of security. When these relationships are absent, it makes us feel insecure. When we're lonely, it also triggers stress responses that make us question ourselves more, like, did I do something wrong? Is there something wrong with my life? Am I missing out on something? And another issue is that loneliness can cause inflammation in our bodies. This isn't just true for loneliness. Any psychological imbalance can lead to inflammatory responses in the body. Let me explain it simply for everyone to understand. When we're stressed, when we have these imbalances, our brain, hormones in the body, and neurotransmitters become chaotic and disrupted. And the dysregulation of glands in the body, like the pituitary, adrenal glands, hypothalamus, etc., can also cause inflammatory reactions. So, haven't you noticed that when we're psychologically unstable or lonely, we get acne, skin problems worsen, and we get sick more easily than usual? Well, that's the connection. When there are many stressors, our mental health affects our physical health, making us sad and leading to unhealthy living. For example, irregular sleep, sleep disorders, lack of physical activity, unhealthy eating, staying indoors all the time, lack of sunlight, all of these impact our quality of life. All right, that's enough theory for now. Now I'm going to share with you the ways I believe I've overcome loneliness. As I mentioned earlier, there are 3 types: social loneliness, emotional loneliness, and existential loneliness. Social loneliness means we are genuinely alone, lacking social relationships. Like myself, as I've told you in previous podcasts, I'm freelancing these days, so I don't go to an office. My friends are also busy with their own lives, studying and working, so I rarely get to see them, and I'm often by myself. In short, I also experienced what's called social loneliness, a lack of social relationships. I dealt with it by joining groups or activities. For example, you could join a badminton club, a piano class, or participate in volunteer activities. I truly find that participating in volunteer activities is very meaningful. The most significant thing is that you get to help others. And furthermore, when I volunteer, I meet truly kind people, and that allows me to see the beauty of kindness, the beauty of compassion and empathy, truly beautiful aspects of humanity. And another thing, which might sound very mundane, even vulgar or trivial, is that when I help others, I get the feeling that I'm a good person. I think as humans, everyone has that part. Everyone really needs to feel needed in life. And when I volunteer, besides helping others, it also gives us a sense that we are living beautifully, living with purpose, and that we ourselves are doing kind things. Just like I told you in a previous podcast, we can participate in workshops and events. For example, lately, I've been going to film screenings a lot. At these screenings, they usually show older but interesting films, and afterwards, people stay to discuss the movie with others. Or you can go to a workshop about a topic you're interested in. There, you can meet other people and discuss interesting subjects with them. You can also join online or offline communities of people who share your interests, profession, or concerns. Just like I told you in a previous podcast, I met other content creators, but it always comes back to what I said in that episode. First, we improve our communication skills. I know that people who are used to being alone are often shy about meeting strangers because we're genuinely afraid of not knowing what to say. I'm the same, so I really understand you all. Recently, I've discovered my role in a conversation. I've noticed that introverted people like us always have this fear of, oh no, I don't know what to say to them. We always feel this pressure to say something, which only makes us more hesitant. If I can't talk, then I'll just be the listener. If everyone talks, who's going to listen, right? So, in a conversation, I'll take on the role of the listener. I've found that as long as I listen with a sincere, open, friendly attitude, and am very willing to open up and connect with them, no one will ever blame me for being quiet. I think one of the most important skills in listening is, first, that we truly listen and delve into their story, rather than just listening to formulate our next response. And second, we should learn a skill called curiosity, not just curiosity within the conversation, but curiosity about everything in our lives. When we listen to someone else's story and we feel curious, we can ask, oh, why were they able to do that? Or, what was important to them that made them decide that? How did they feel about it? When you're genuinely curious, you really want to know those answers, and you'll ask with a very open attitude. And the person you're talking to will surely understand that you genuinely want to connect with them. No one blames someone for being quiet. So, for those who feel socially lonely, you can try what I do. Basically, go wherever you can meet people, join those communities, participate in community activities. Or, if you're truly in a very difficult situation, you can join online communities. However, there needs to be a distinction between online and real-life interactions, because if you're only happy with online relationships and don't meet in person, it won't fully resolve loneliness, I think. Don't worry, I've experienced all 3 types of loneliness, so I have a way to deal with each one. If you're experiencing the second type of loneliness, emotional loneliness, feeling a lack of connection with everyone and all relationships around you, or having broken connections in relationships, then we just need to learn how to reconnect. First, reconnect with friends and family. For me, I think these are the people who love me the most, and they are the ones who have witnessed everything that has happened to me so far. They understand why I am the person I am today. So, when I open up and make an effort to reconnect with them, it's probably easier than building a new connection from scratch. In the past, I used to complain, why doesn't my mom understand me? Why don't my friends understand me? Why can't they, the people closest to me, understand me? But now, I suddenly realized they couldn't understand me because I didn't give them the chance to. I never truly told them what I had been through. And if I did tell them, I only talked about how I felt about my experiences without giving them the context of the problems I faced. So, of course, they couldn't understand what I was going through. And another important thing is that meaningful relationships require a lot of time. Be patient with yourself and others. You've heard the episode, Everyone Goes Through Their Own Storm, right? Episode 35, I think it was. If you listened to episode 35, you know how difficult it was for my friends and me to reconnect. But because we persevered until now, I now have a beautiful friendship. I'm so proud that I feel incredibly awesome and cool for having this relationship in my life, and for building and maintaining such a deep connection. This makes me feel incredibly proud of myself. I know that not everyone has an easy life. Many people have problems with their families, or they've never had a close friendship since childhood. I know, and I truly feel for you all. I know that when someone always strives to connect with others, but the world keeps saying no to them, they will eventually withdraw and no longer have the courage to start connecting with others. Or they might genuinely believe that they were born with such a problem, that they were destined to be alone, someone who wouldn't have deeply connected relationships. Honestly, I have no right to tell them to be positive, or don't think like that anymore, or to tell them to try a few more times. Because if they try and fail, only they will hurt, not me, right? But I don't know what to say to make those in such circumstances feel less awful about this. However, I always believe that the universe listens to a resilient heart. I always believe that if I try and put in the effort, sooner or later, I will find the right people to connect with. I just hope you all will be more patient. As for effort, I'm sure you've already tried very hard many times before. I just hope you'll be a little more patient with yourselves and give others more chances to enter your lives. When we experience social loneliness and emotional loneliness, it gradually leads us to existential loneliness, meaning we don't know what we live for, what we exist for. We don't feel connected to anyone, no one needs us, we don't know our purpose in life, we feel lost and adrift in this world. Everyone always knows me as someone with a truly wonderful mother and incredibly amazing friends. But there were times when my mom and I really had fierce arguments. Just imagine, my mom is from an older generation and her child refused to go to university, took a gap year without telling her a word. How could a mom from that generation endure something like that, right? And I had to put in a lot of effort to reconnect with my mom. Even my friends, we were all in the process of growing up. We all had our own broken pieces and issues in our lives. There were times when just carrying our own burdens was hard enough, let alone forming deeper bonds with someone or solving someone else's problems. So, we had periods of very severe disconnection. Those were the times when I felt truly adrift in this world, I had no one by my side, and I couldn't find my purpose in life. Those were very bad times. I truly felt so lonely I wanted to cry back in 2019. That was a terribly lonely time for me, and it was when the first episode of Being Alone and the Fear of Loneliness was broadcast on YouTube, the very first episode on the Thuan podcast channel. Yes, the reason I started making podcasts back then was because I was too lonely. I was on a gap year. My mom and I were arguing very intensely. My friends were also struggling and overwhelmed with their own lives, so they didn't have time to care about me, and I also felt like a burden telling them my problems. That was when I truly felt incredibly lonely. Back then, I didn't even know there was such a thing as a podcast. I simply thought, many other people must be experiencing the same problems as me. So, I just opened my laptop, recorded my story with the laptop's mic, and uploaded it to YouTube. I hoped that someone in my situation would hear that story and feel, wow, that's just like me. So many people are lonely like me, so many people stumble and hurt in their youth just like me. So I just uploaded it. At first, it only got about 200-300 views, I think. But at that time, I felt insanely happy because I thought, oh my God, 300 people. That's like the entire 12th grade class at my high school listening to me. I was so happy. That's why I started Thuen's podcast. And the fact that I was able to reconnect with my mom and reconnect with my friends makes me very proud. The thing I'm most proud of is that I persevered and put in a lot of effort to rebuild those connections. A meaningful relationship requires a lot of time and also a lot of patience. I'm truly proud that I achieved that. And now, the sweet fruit I've reaped, as you hear in my other podcasts, is that people often message me, admiring me for having a wonderful mother and amazing friends. But I genuinely put in a lot of effort to have those things. I'm not trying to preach to anyone, because I know everyone has their own struggles, and just because I achieved something doesn't mean others can. Because my success didn't solely come from myself, it also came from others being willing to cooperate with me and from many other external factors. It wasn't just my effort alone. I just want to tell everyone so you understand that it's not impossible to show you that, wow, someone who was once super lonely, so lonely they cried while recording a podcast in 2019, by 2023 has very connected, very close relationships. And they're doing this philosophical podcast about loneliness again to flex on everyone. I hope you all believe that this is still possible, that this exists in real life. So let's go back to the issue. When you feel existentially lonely, feel lost and isolated, lacking connected relationships, no one needs you, you don't know your purpose in life. The first thing I truly want you all to always remember, to always keep in your mind, is don't have negative thoughts about yourself. Everyone experiences periods of loneliness in their lives. It's not because you are so terrible that no one wants to be with you. It's simply, first, that your karma or circumstances haven't aligned yet, and second, you haven't done well in connecting with others. And I want you to understand that when we don't do something well, it means we haven't learned the right way to do it. If you want to and wholeheartedly strive to improve, it will gradually get better. Another thing is that learning how to solve a problem or how to do something less wrongly, not everyone has the opportunity to do that. And sometimes, when someone does something wrong, it might be because they lack experience. This doesn't mean they're not smart or that they didn't put their heart into it, but simply because they didn't know how to do it better, as they never had the chance to learn about it before. And it's like with connecting in relationships. I know it's not because you refuse to connect with others, but simply because you haven't learned how to connect. So, for those experiencing existential loneliness, don't feel negative, don't feel like you're bad and therefore deserve to be lonely. No, that's not it at all. It's just that you haven't learned the right way to connect yet, but you will learn. Besides the ways to resolve social and emotional loneliness that I mentioned earlier, you can also learn another method: meditation and mindfulness. I think I've mentioned meditation and mindfulness a billion times in previous podcasts. When we meditate and practice mindfulness, we'll clearly understand our own emotions, and we accept those emotions. We don't try to dismiss them. We simply accept their presence in our lives, observe them, and connect more closely with ourselves. I learned something. When I was lonely, I always tried to connect with others, always tried to make more friends, always tried to find a partner. But the most important thing, connecting with myself, I completely neglected. When I was in that state of loneliness, I had so many thoughts, so many emotions I wanted to share with others, but I didn't know where to start. Everything felt heavy, weighing me down, but I didn't know how to articulate it for others to understand. And because I had been lonely for so long, I forgot to tell others about it. So, one practice I want everyone to adopt is, when you're lonely, it's absolutely mandatory, to write a journal. Practice journaling. When you write a journal, you recount what happened and how you felt. Don't just write how you felt, but recount everything that happened as if you were an outsider, and also write how you felt about it. When we write down our thoughts and emotions, those things spontaneously become organized, and we understand why we have certain problems. When we're happy, when we're sad, when we're angry, when we're blah blah blah, and so on. We can manage those emotions more easily. And furthermore, it trains us in the habit of speaking our minds, so that when we truly have connected relationships again, we won't find it too difficult to share with others. Sometimes we're lonely, and loneliness leads to psychological problems. These psychological problems, firstly, make us feel difficult to connect with others. Secondly, they can make us bad-tempered, and they can make us difficult to live with. And when we become difficult to be around, people will gradually stop accompanying us, and our loneliness will just intensify. It's like a repeating cycle. The first necessary step is journaling, then learning more about meditation and mindfulness. If you want to learn more about meditation, you can start with the meditation series on Netflix by Headspace. I'll put the link in the description below, so if you're interested, you can watch and learn. A while ago, a friend of mine, someone I consider incredibly wise, told me that humans have 3 needs that must be satisfied: feeling connected to others, feeling connected to oneself, and feeling connected to nature. Depending on each person, their needs, their biochemistry, brain structure, genes, and so on, everyone will have a different order of priority for these needs. Some people feel a very strong need to connect with others. Some feel that their greatest need is to connect with themselves. And some don't need to interact with anyone. Just engaging with plants and finding solace in nature is enough to make them happy. So, my friend told me that I should look to see what I need most, what my highest priority is, and then I should arrange to do that more. You can try that approach too. And no matter what, loneliness is just a state, and no state lasts forever. Every state is temporary, and if we strive and make an effort to improve, things will gradually get better. That's for sure. This episode is about the fear of loneliness, so I'm not addressing people who subscribe to the philosophy of being alone, those who like loneliness, find it enjoyable, or think, single life forever. I know there are such people, but because I'm only talking about fear, this episode might sound a bit melancholic. I hope that through this episode, if you see yourself in it, you'll find ways to improve and feel better. This podcast episode is super long already, so I'll end it here. Thank you for listening. I wish everyone a warm end of the year with meaningful connections. Goodbye and see you.